京で自転車に乗るのはもうブラブラといろんなお店とか見て回ったりとか、あと知り合いの友人の人と会ったりとか。
1年前になぜ自転車に乗り始めたのかというと、やっぱり自転車は自動車ほど速くないけれども、自分の足で漕ぐことですごく移動することができる。その周りの景色もどんどん変わっていくし、こう風を受けて自分で運動しているという感じもすごく気持ちいいので。
自転車に乗る理由は、まず一番は楽しいから、どんどん遠くまで行けるので、はい、ハマってます。
But the best thing about cycling in Tokyo is the convenience. You can go anywhere by bicycle under 10 kilometers. You can get there faster by bicycle than you can by train, and definitely faster than you can by private vehicle.
Cycling in Tokyo is, it's a very much a everyday thing. Old people, young people, everybody is on bikes.
On weekends, we can go to either side, west or east, and hit the river, and then go on north and far away from downtown. And if you ride probably 20-30 miles, then you meet the nature.
やっぱりお金がかからないでもう自由に自分の足だけでどこでも行けるっていう点がありますね。
The other wonderful thing about cycling in Tokyo is everybody cycles. It's not just a sport for the rich people. It's not a sport where you have to buy a helmet and lycra and you don't need a $1,000, $2,000 bicycle. Everybody cycles in regular clothing. They're not cycling to get fit. They're not cycling to save the environment. They're just cycling because it makes sense. It's the best way to get around, and that's why they do it. So I arrived in Tokyo over 20 years ago. I came over for a year of work, and that kind of rolled on and on and on, and I've never looked back. And from that, I slowly developed an interest in cycling infrastructure. I realized there was a paradox between the high number of cyclists and the very poor infrastructure. It struck me as odd, and I began studying. And then I got connected to cyclists and mobility experts around the world, and I realized we could make a change here in Tokyo. We could really, really change things.
My normal cycling would be from home to the gym, or about 8 to 10K one route, and then back home or something like that.
Cycling in Tokyo generally goes under the radar because it's so common. It's as common as slipping on your shoe when you go outside. If you're going to the supermarket, you don't say, "Oh, I'm just going to cycle to the supermarket." You just step outside, get on your bicycle and go.
なぜ東京で自転車に乗るのが好きなのかというと、東京ってすごく狭くって、いつもは地下鉄とかで移動しているんだけれども、地下鉄に乗ってしまうと全然距離も景色もわからない。で、自転車に乗ると意外とその移動していた距離が近かったりとか、この道とこの道がこういうふうにつながってるんだっていうことがわかるのがすごい面白いです。
I'm an independent consultant, so I go to visit lots of IT companies, the smaller ones. It's everywhere. I ride my bicycle unless it rains.
We have very little cycling infrastructure here in Japan, or here in Tokyo in particular. We have about 10 kilometers of cycle lanes, dedicated cycle paths. For an international city, that's just ridiculous.
東京で自転車乗ってて安全と感じるか、それともちょっと危ないなと感じるかっていう答えに関しては、やっぱ時々は危ないなって思うことがあります。タクシーだったり、バスだったりが一番危険だなって思う場面があります。でもその5、6年前、もっと昔に比べたらだいぶ状況が良くなってきて。
Tokyo, in some parts, it's better than, say, Taiwan, where there are lots of scooters. So that was difficult to cycle. But compared to countries like the Netherlands, those countries have much wider cycle roads. We can learn from them.
The modal share in Tokyo, despite the fact that we have no infrastructure, is 14%. So 14% of every trip taken in the city every single day is made by bicycle. When you consider the sheer number of trips being taken in Tokyo today, it's enormous. Cycling in Tokyo works not because of the infrastructure, it works for a host of other reasons. The local neighbourhoods are very small, very compact, and they have every possible convenience within a short walk or a short cycle away. If you need to visit the doctor, the dentist, the supermarket, the butcher, everything is within a short ride away. So this makes the bicycle the most convenient method of transport. Another reason is the high cost and the inconvenience of car ownership. Owning a car is expensive. Parking a car is expensive. It can cost as much to park a car in the city for a month as it does for my apartment in the suburbs for a month.
The parking is a big issue. It's very expensive. They're very less. And then also the public transportation. I mean, it's so developed that we don't really need to have cars.
で昔は車も乗っていたんですけれども東京の駐車場の代金が高いそしてもう車を手放しました。あとやっぱり一番は事故が怖いですね。で事故が怖くてそういうのもあって車を手放した時にもっと遠くに行けるのはって考えた時に自転車でした。
Probably the biggest thing that makes cycling work in Japan is the people themselves. The people just get on with the job. They have this thing that they term the Gaman spirit. It just means get it done. So if it's raining outside, it doesn't matter. They'll get on their bicycle and they'll just get it done.
Other countries could learn to be kind to each other, definitely. Motorists, because everybody has been on bikes before here, even if they don't do it now, so they know what it feels like to be on bicycles. Most people do. And then, of course, a lot of old people are on the bikes. So I think we tend to be more considerate to cyclists.
でもちろん歩道も走ります、場合によっては。でもそれも走っていいですよっていうのもどこからどこまでが走っていいのかとかそういう情報がもっとみんなに知られればもっとよりよく走れるんじゃないかなと思います。
Given the lack of infrastructure on the roads here, the lack of cycle paths, safe cycling infrastructure, for the majority of people, cycling on the sidewalk appears to be safer and makes a lot more sense. So in the West, conventional wisdom says, bicycles and pedestrians should not mix. And in an ideal world, they shouldn't mix at all. But in Tokyo, where we have no good cycling infrastructure, there really is no choice. The cyclists have got the option of battling with the cars or cycling with pedestrians.
We need the budget to get wider cycle lanes installed, especially with cycling being more popular than ever before.
As you know, the Netherlands and Denmark are really big cycling countries, and we look up to those countries and admire what they've done for cycling, and we want to bring their people to Tokyo to try and improve the cycling infrastructure here. Cycling in Tokyo really is amazing, and Tokyo has such a huge number of cyclists, yet officials and the population really don't know what they have here. 14% is a huge modal share globally. I mean, places like New York and Paris, they're talking numbers like 1 or 2%. So cities around the world are trying to achieve the cyclist numbers that Tokyo has. And Tokyo doesn't even realize that they have such an amazing cycling culture.
お城を作るよ台所だって